Hello everyone and welcome back. This is TechMedic and thank you for sharing your time with me today. Today's video is going to be about PalWorld and base building, some of the things that you need to be aware of while setting up your initial base. First off is technology points. We want to go into technology tab and you're going to have a bunch of different things. You want to start building all of your wooden structures right off the bat in order to go ahead and house some of your items. There is a slider for base degradation pieces. So bases will degrade over time. You want to go ahead and set that down to 0 in the world options. You can go ahead and change your world options at any time to the flavor of your liking. I would recommend kind of staying in the 2 range, never going over that. Reason being is because I don't think that was a very smart choice that developers let you choose how to kind of like dust over or gloss over a lot of these details. But you know, that being said, there's a lot to be had under the hood, and you know, progress, especially into the later levels, as I am level 45 right now, tend to get extremely slow at producing goods. So things like creating 5 bullets will take you about 2 minutes to craft, so on and so forth. Especially with refined metals, you're going to need a whole lot of things, and my Dig Toys is freaking out with the dragon over there. But you're going to have a bunch of different pals that are going to be employed, and they're going to be doing different things. So let's go take a look at our pal box real quick and see what is actually happening. You will need to go ahead and create these certain facilities to house your pals, and they have a pathing issue into the main base itself. So you want to make sure that you have an outdoor stall like this for all your pals to go ahead and sleep. You also have the need for them to have relaxation, and that's where these hot springs comes from, as well as you know, fields for them to grow wheat and berries to create jam toast. I figured it was the easiest thing to go ahead and have on hand, and actually I got all of it by accident on my person. So you can see that they're pumping out quite a few goods here. We can go ahead and keep them fed and satisfied. We also want to make sure that when we're building our utilities and our workstations, that we go ahead and place them in a way where the PAL can access them. That means that you cannot place anything under the stairs or on a second level, because they'll have a difficulty reaching these areas. So make sure everything that is needed to be kindled, like these guys are kindling the fires to cook food. This PAL is refrigerating our little cooler box. You need to make sure that they have adequate space, because there is a pathing issue with these pals with one another, so that you can expect them to kind of bump into each other. Make sure they have enough space to move around. Pathing with stairs is somewhat of a hit or miss right now in the game. So I do have stairs out here. This is the only entry point that the pals will sometimes enter through, but other times if you put a chest in front of your doorway, they'll consider that as a blocked path. So the path needs to be clear of any object in order for them to enter the base. So this one they got away with, because this is a toolbox and it's not an actual workstation that, you know, kind of has its own invisible area that you need to go ahead and clear for. PAL boxes are always going to be placed outside because they do not deteriorate from the weather or from exposure to the sun. Anything else like feed boxes and chests are also pretty good to go ahead and keep outside. I think it's only the wooden ones that are actually having some difficulty. Items like this, unless you built like a Jurassic Park sized base, where you're going to have a T-Rex or a Brachiosaurus walk through and like park itself on a bed, then, you know, I think you'll be okay there. But then you're going to have like a massive open wall in order for these pals to come in and out, which is totally possible. But a lot of base locations, you're going to need to set up in an area where there's adequate resources for them to path to. I have this area set up here because it's right here on the map. This is the only area that looks like this with the red trees, and it has quite a number of ore spawns. So this entire field right here will fill up with about 6 to 7 ore spawns, and the you'll be able to go ahead and gather all those resources, and then there's a ton of trees that also spawn in the area as well, so that you're going to go ahead and utilize those things. You do have the option to go ahead and create a logging site and a stone pit, but those take away and are actually a distraction when you're trying to mine the ore that's there. The miners that you do employ will go ahead and focus on the stone rather than the actual metal ore that you need. So you want to keep that in mind. The same thing goes for your pals that plant and chop wood. So you want them to chop everything out within the base's if you notice here on the blue, it's the perimeter of the base. You want them to chop everything down inside of this bubble and then go and plant, or do something else, especially if they're tasked with doing different things. So as you eventually complete the missions that are here by building and researching the technology, you get access to a base upgrade, which is going to go ahead and add to the number of pals that you can actually have working for you. So that being said, you're going to need, excuse me, you're going to need pals that could do kindling. This one is a level 3. The higher the level on it in the current task menu on your right hand side, the faster that this task is going to get done. And as you start moving out, of the low areas into the, mid 20s, upper 30s, and then on into the 40s over here, you're going to eventually run into pals that have incredibly good stats, and they can do a number of things. A lot of the humanoid type pals will have a lot of different tasks that they can complete. As we take a look at this Penking here, this Penking can water, help craft, mine, help with the refrigeration, and help haul as well, compared to a bird that will just be able to harvest, and that'll be the only thing. The same thing with this character here, really good at kindling, really good at chopping wood, can craft, can harvest, and can haul wood as well. But then sometimes you need a pal that can do just one thing, so that'll be the coolers that you will need, or the kindlers that you will need in order to go ahead and employ. You do have access through the pal menu to create a ranch, and you can ranch a number of different items that drop. And if you check on the pal deck itself, you could see what the actual drop is from each individual pal, and employ those. If you just want to do nothing but ranching, you can have that set up for them and fence them off so that that's all they do the entire time. Really good for things like, I think it's like, where is it? You're going to need a lot of gunpowder at some point, or a lot of iron. But there is where the heck is this bird? All the way in the nosebleed section. But there are 111 pals. And I have seen these two. They're really cool looking, but they're level 50. And I'm not quite there yet in order to go ahead and take on 2 pals at once, especially legendary pals. These are legendary pals. Yeah, we're not doing that right away. But anyway, you get the idea. You pick a pal with the item that you want, and you go ahead and you set up a ranch. Ranches are pretty big. You can go ahead and set them up pretty much anywhere, and they're self-sufficient. Again, any pal that has something to offer will again be distracted and will just continuously graze and drop that item, which is pretty cool, because if you get a bunch of these cats called mouse, and I'll go ahead and take a look at one right now. A bunch of these cats will actually drop gold for you. So you could effectively create your own little gold farm and have it up and running with, I think the max that you could set in the settings is 20 pals working at your base. So you could have 20 mouse laying gold, but then it's only 1. So it's not that significant. I think you're better off, hunting for items and selling those to the vendors that you can go ahead and take. But another thing that you need to keep an eye out for is heating. So you're going to need a heat source inside of your base, and you're going to have the availability to place down some egg incubators. Egg incubators are a good way to get pals that you could go ahead and condense in the condenser out there to go ahead and create even more powerful pals. But it needs to be around an adequate heating source, so that's why it's set up in this fashion, so that we can go ahead and have the heat coming off the fire in order to go ahead and incubate the eggs that are there. There's a bunch of different things that you need to keep in mind. If you want to upgrade your base, do not put your furniture straight up against the wall if you want to upgrade from wood to stone. So in the build menu, if you want to delete something or remove something, you can go ahead and hit B, and then you can go into assembly mode, disassembly mode, and you can go ahead and disassemble everything that you want. This will go ahead and break down into the base materials at 100% return rate. So if you guys have placed something funky and you want it changed, I'd recommend that you get it done now before the developers catch on and add actually a diminishing return on the refunded materials that you acquire. So go ahead and get that out of the way. But again, like I said, if you have something pressed right up to the wall and it clips into the wall itself, when you're breaking it down, especially these chests, because it's a pain in the ass to move 3,000 wood from one area to another in order to upgrade a door from wood to stone, you're going to have to deal with all that mess and deal with despawning of items and stuff like that. So just make sure that you have the adequate storage set up and move your items before actually breaking down the wall, breaking down the chest, and moving everything over there. But, you know, for the most part, the pals have their jobs and they're autonomous. They will eat, they will take breaks, they will slack off, they will, you know, get indigestion, they will get ulcers, they will get cranky and frustrated, and, you know, it's pretty much like a simulation there of kind of keeping an eye on your temperaments of these pals. But I'd recommend that you set up some sort of foundation block off, because the enemies that come in from the raids will not be able to go ahead and climb over these things, nor will they be able to destroy them. They'll just pretty much run around, as far as I've seen. So I think this place is a very good base to have. Again, it's right here on the map. If you're looking for at the first initial start point that you actually get, you can see that there is actually this point here. It's just a little bit north from that. Lots of iron ore, or actually ore nodes around, a lot of wood, a couple of stone boulders that you could break down for, you know, the pieces of stone that you will actually need for like arrows and things like that. Very good spot to go ahead and start building. And you don't need a whole lot, but there is, you know, that emphasis on actually expanding so that you could utilize the entire area of your encompassing bubble here that you have. But that's been my tips for base building, showing you how to disassemble stuff, where things need to be placed, workstations that can be housed outside and without worry, and, you know, make sure that you place a chest outside so that these pals will not drop items. They will path to the closest chest available to them. So you want to make sure that you set up an outdoor chest so that they can, you know, take stuff from the trees and from the fields and from the rocks and the ore that they crush and mine, and do all that goodness and place it into one local area. Otherwise, they're going to be filling up your internal chests that you have. So everything else that you need to know, please ask in the comments, and I'll go ahead and take a look at them and advise further. But thank you very much for sharing your time with me. I hope you have a good day, and we will see you all in the next one. Please like, subscribe, and comment.